Hey guys, welcome to another Ultimate Edge webinar series. I'm excited about this one. About 2 months ago now, I was on a manager call with a bunch of managers for Bay Equity, and they had invited Ryan onto the call, and he showed us some credit software. It's a platform, is probably a better way to describe it. Ryan's going to get into it here, that I was really impressed with. So we invited Ryan Bresse to attend one of our webinars. Here he is today. Ryan, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John, for having me, and thank you guys for joining us and taking the time out of your busy days to be with us this afternoon to share these products with you guys.
Yeah. Ryan was telling me about the history of his company, and I think it might be better if he introduced it and start with your dad and all that stuff, Ryan, where this came from and where you're at now. They work with the mortgage industry guys now, as you can see, and then we'll dive into the presentation.
Yeah, so guys, it's my father Rusty. He's also the CEO of ScoreNavigator. Really got into the credit industry really 43 going on 44 years ago. It just started as a dream when he saw an infomercial on TV about Gitsu knives, and he wanted everybody to get these knives, but he saw where people had to order them with a credit card. So he really stepped up and really got into the industry with helping people with just getting credit cards. And as years have gone by, we've just slowly developed, and until now we have Score Navigator. Score Navigator is a company that's been around now 23 years, really focused on really B2B to C, but also B2C as well. But not only are we in the United States, we do have products in Canada as well for the Canadian audience.
That's good. Help our Canadian clients. We appreciate that.
And so now we're here about, I want to say it's been about 6 or 7 weeks now. We've really stepped up and got into the mortgage space. We know there were some changes and some companies that were moving on, and Score Navigator's just here just to help replace those products and just offer your clients the best product possible in order to get them from point A to point B. And have that dream of getting a home. It's a big milestone to get a home or refinance a home, especially in today's market. So we're just able and thankful to be able to help people to be able to achieve their dreams.
Well, we appreciate it. So today, guys, you're not going to get the pleasure of seeing Ryan. Unfortunately, his camera is unavailable, but we're going to see his presentation. For our webinar audience, guys, if you have any questions, certainly put those into the chat box, and I'll ask questions of Brian at the end. And if it's appropriate in the middle, go ahead and ask the question at that time. YouTube audience, go ahead and put your comments in there, and we'll get back to you on those as you know. And with that, Ryan, why don't you show your screen and we'll dive into the platforms you guys have.
So let me share my screen with you guys. And what I'm going to do, guys, is show you our dashboard inside of some of our tech providers, and this one being Meridian Link. So here, guys, you can see this is going to be our dashboard. Our dashboard is going to have a couple of different things for you guys. You'll be able to see some brief information about Score Navigator, some of the products that we offer, but also just really what makes us stand out is our point deduction technology. Our point deduction technology is an algorithm where we're able to put a point value from 0 to 100 plus on each one of the trade lines. So we can see where we're losing the points, if we're losing any points at all per account. So this gives an easy guide just to know where we're being hit. That way we can really focus on those accounts in order to get a person from point A to point B. But on our dashboard, there is training as well. There's a step-by-step guide, a letter to you guys just thanking you, as well as a training video, which provides a demo for you guys. That way you can just always look back on your dashboard to get information. We can get into the first product, which is our mortgage action plan. Our mortgage action plan is really our long-term product. These are for the clients where we can see that it's going to take a little bit of time to get them from point A to point B. But we want to still keep them in the pipeline. We still want to keep that dream going, but also just to provide them information, what we call homework, in order for them to really learn why their score is the way it is, but also gives them a goal to work to something. We do have it broken up into several different sections between an easy to read trade line report, recommendations, credit factors, credit summary, as well as credit options. Here they'll be able to see what their current score is, a potential score, and then they're going to see action points. The action points are going to be broken down into short term, into long term. The short term is going to be really that 30 to 60 day range of points, usually just dealing with the positive credit. It deals with the balances. Our long term is going to be morely focused on the derogatory statements, whether it's collections or charge offs or late payments. They'll have all that information here in those points.
So Ryan, can I ask a couple questions at this point?
Yes.
All right. First of all, what's the definition of the time period, do you think, for short-term versus long-term?
I will say the short term is really that 30 to 60 day points. These points are able to be rapid rescored as well, though. So you can really see it upwards of 72 hours for some of these points.
Okay.
But really, if it's going to go through like an organic method without doing rapid rescores, anywhere between 30 to 60 days.
Okay. So longer than 60 days is long-term.
Yes, correct. And it's really Megalith's focus. I mean, it could be 90 days, it could be 5 years, it could be 7 years, but we still
Okay.
want to still let them know that there's still points there. They might not be achievable, but we know where we can get to with due time.
Okay. And I've noticed that you have TransUnion up on the screen that we're looking at. Do you work with all three bureaus, or do you focus on TransUnion, or what's that?
We're partnered with each of the three bureaus, so we do have information for both of or all three of them. I only started with TU here because with our products here, TU's on the first of the list.
Okay.
So they usually get the good side of the. I do have an Equifax on here as well. If we wanted to look at Equifax, we can see the same thing. It's just going to be based off of their scoring model, because each of the three bureaus use three different FICO scoring models with their scorecards, whether it's
Got
the
it.
FICO 2, 3, or the 5, but they still have that availability with each of the products.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, good questions. But then we can get into the trade line report. We're going to always separate it. That way it's organized, because when a lot of consumers are looking at, especially the old versions of the credit reports, they have no idea what they're looking at. And most of the information and knowledge they're getting is all from TikTok and Instagram Reels, and a lot of that stuff's all phony baloney. So we like to break it down and keep it as simple as possible, but also to direct them to where we want them to direct them to. So we will separate between the positives. They'll see the negatives, collections, if there's increase on here. But the biggest thing that you're going to look at here is the items in red. We made these items, these three line items, the DLA, the limit, as well as the balance in red, because we want you to take your eyes to these line items. These three line items are where most errors happen on a credit report. So it's always good to verify that these are accurate, and just to make sure that your score is the way it is, but not based off of inaccuracies. It's something that's a simple fix to get somebody, whether it's 4 points or 6 points, but doing these actions aren't going to cost them any money. Any way we can save the consumer money is a win for us in the long term, especially when it comes to these long-term clients. So they are going to be drawn to take their eyes to these three line items. So they'll be able to see, for instance, on this deposit account that's open, I can see that this chase, the limit is 0. This $0 limit with this $0 balance, guys, is no different that it's showing that it's 10,000, 10,000. It's showing that it's maxed out. And because of that, we can see that we're actually losing 5 points because of it. So it's just a matter of getting that statement to your creditor, having them get it back into action, and this $3,000 credit limit, getting that reported correctly, we can see that they can get 5 points back. So it's something as simple as that, but just making sure that all these line items is appropriate and correct with the client. There's some extra line items too you will see. For instance, if an item is in dispute, they'll see that as well. But we're also going to let them know as well when the account is scheduled to be removed on, so they still get that information when it comes to the collections of some of these negative items. So they'll get that information piece here as well. That way they know, leave it alone. I know it's going to fall off here shortly, especially with this collection account here. It's best sometimes just to leave things alone, especially if it's a long-time client. And that's our trade line report. And then our next tab is going to be recommendations. To keep it simple, we do have the recommendations separated between short-term and long-term, so it's very organized for them. There is an informational piece that explains the short-term, that making sure that they have the appropriate accounts they're working on. But with our short-term, since it's mainly focused on the positive credit, it's going to be dealing with balances. We're going to keep it extremely simple. We're going to give them 3 line items. We're going to always first making sure it's being reported correctly. Our information is only as accurate as the data we're receiving. If something is off, then it's going to hurt with our points. So we always want to verify that that information is correct. That way we can provide the best recommendations. And that's why we recommend, if there is inaccuracies, that we would go to the Smart Score simulator, and I'll show you that, guys, here in a little bit.
Okay.
We're gonna let them know which account, how much they need to pay it to, and what their point increase is going to be. So they'll get that information here. And then going into our long term, we're going to first explain what the long term is. That way there's no questions about it. But also for the inaccuracies or validating these collections, making sure that they're doing things the proper way. There was dispute language here as well, so they'll get an informational piece on that as well that makes sure that they're handling everything the proper way with their CRAs. And that's the recommendations. And then we have the credit factors next. The credit factors is going to explain why their score is the way it is. It's going to let them know whether it's to code 12, and it's going to explain everything to them, and really just helping educate the consumer. We want to educate the consumers because if not, they're still going to keep doing the same bad habits. We want to break those bad habits. So let's educate them, let them know that their score is the way it is because of these line items, these factors. But we got to eliminate those factors in order to really get from point A to point B, and then for the future, get from point B to point C. And then we have the credit summary, which breaks it down just a step further. Here they'll be able to see the total accounts, the balances, the utilization, available credit, credit history information. But we're going to break each of those accounts down just a step further. We're going to let them know when to keep their transactions after, the best day to make their payments by, what they need to keep their balance under, as well as what their current balance ratio. One of the main questions we get about this best day to make their payment by, this is not going to necessarily be their due date. But what we're going to do is have them pay it before the report date. So when they're paying their balances on this day, we know that when it reports, it's going to report that the balances are going to be paid, which is going to maximize your score. So it really takes away the it takes away the guessing game. Just follow these steps, and this is something that you can share with the client. Print it out, put it on the fridge. I got to pay it on this date. I need to work to keep my balance below this in order to maximize my score. So they'll see that for each one of the accounts. And to the right of that, there is going to be payment history for the training data, whether it's unregistered or if it's good standings. If there's late payments, they'll see that here as well. So they'll have that information. And then we have our last drop down, which is going to be our credit options. Our credit options is really to help people establish some positive credit. So right now we do have available secure credit cards, information about authorized users, with utilities and alternative credit and rent reporting. For the current mortgage model for the FICO Classic scores, only the secure cards and authorized users are going to help them. But we know with the new FICO 10T and with the Vantage 4 that the utilities and alternative credit and rent reporting is going to be available for those guys. The reason why we do have it available now is because it's going to take some time period for this to reflect on the report. But why start when the new models hit, and then next thing you know, we're still 6 months to a year out? Go ahead and start them now. That way, when the new models hit, they're already ready to go. They're already got their guns locked and loaded and ready to shoot for that better loan with a better rate. So it is available. There is informational pieces on each one of these just to make sure they're getting proper information and not just going off of something on the internet. Especially when it comes to the authorized users, a lot of people are still today Googling authorized users and buying trade line accounts from random people on the internet. And we don't want that to happen. So we are going to give them the proper way and the steps to make sure they're not going to who knows who and getting an authorized user and paying no telling how much money. I'm seeing upwards of $400 to $500 a month to be on somebody's authorized user account.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And it still happens. My dad spoke to me years ago that people were doing it, and then I found out recently that people are still doing it. Like, how are people still doing it? So there is informational pieces on each one of these just to make sure we're all doing stuff the proper ways and taking the right steps in order to actually help somebody without one, identity theft, and other different factors that could come to place.
All right, can I ask a few more questions at this point, Ryan?
Yes.
New credit score models. What is coming up? Do you know, and when?
So we do have the FICO 10T coming out, and we do have the Vantage 4 coming out. I've spoken directly with one of the directors at Advantage, and they're looking at the third quarter of next year rolling it out.
All right.
Currently, right now, they're sending companies like myself some end user information just to test it, test the flow, test how the product would go before they go live. I will tell you, the Advantage is stellar. It's a very stellar, forgiving program that they're putting together for that new model they're going to come out with. But they're letting me know the third quarter. And I feel like since they're going to come out with that, I haven't spoken to FICO directly with the 10Ts coming out, but I feel like if Vantage 4 comes out and it's live, then FICO 10T is going to have to go live to compete with Vantage.
All right. And do you know if that's going to get picked up by all of the industries? Like, is auto and mortgage going to use that, or how is that going to be selected per industry? Do you have any idea?
I know the mortgages is going to get it up front. I know there's different providers now that have said that they're going to start using the Vantage scoring model just because it's so forgiving for the consumer. When it comes to Vantage, it's consumer friendly. When it comes to FICO, it's more lender friendly.
Got it.
But for this instance, for the Vantage, with just the little things that they're doing between like collections not counting towards your score and other different factors, it's really going to help that subprime client to really get a prime rate. And for me, it's a great thing. It's a great tool, and I'm actually really excited for the Vantage 4.0.
That's cool. All right. And then for the person who is going to be on a credit card with someone, the authorized user, so is that still helpful? I've heard different things in the industry that underwriters discard that or don't count it as much. Is if you have a valid situation like a dad who puts the daughter on the credit card as an authorized user to help the score, is that valid and that still helps the score?
It can be valid, but there's also certain cases where it's not valid. I want to say it was either 2008 or 2009 when they came out with your authorized user either has to be a family member or have the same address. And that's
Okay.
really why we try to push people to, mom, please add me to your American Express. I need to get this boost, you could say, versus going to who knows who on the internet and it paying who knows how much money, and it's actually not going to affect their score when it comes to underwriting.
I didn't even know that was an industry, Ryan. That's amazing.
It's definitely interesting, but I want to say they made that. It was either 2008 or 2009. It was when the housing crisis hit back in the day. I say back in the day. I was in like 7th or 8th grade.
Interesting. All right, thanks.
So that's the first product. That's the mortgage action plan, and then we have our next sequence of products, which is going to get into more of the having to actually do something. The mortgage action plan is one click, you follow it, everything's done for you. When it comes to the simulators, we do have to do a little bit of work. It's not a lot of work, but it's just something. We do partner up with the target and money simulator. These do go hand in hand. So if you get one, you get the other. So we'll start with the TU target score. It's extremely simple. We'll go to this box here on the right. We'll type in the desired score we're looking for. We hit run. And it's going to let me know what to do in order to get to that score, or to get close to that score. It's going to give me a list of these recommendations. So it's going to let me know, first, always reporting correctly. That's so important. But also how much money they need to pay, when they need to pay it, what they need to keep their balance below. But then we're going to let them know how much money it's going to cost, the potential score change, the potential score. But also based off these recommendations, I'm also going to provide you guys the best data for their credit as well. That way, if I know if I'm on a really at the beginning of the month, I understand that if I don't want to do a rescore, if I can follow these recommendations on these dates, I know that organically I'm going to have my score on this 29th. If you can see, if you need to rush it for a rapid rescore, then you guys could get with your CRAs in order to rescore something. But just to have that basis of that best estimated to have their credit pool just really gives that time frame of when and when not to rescore.
Very helpful.
But then we can take it from a money's perspective. The 3958 is not going to be for the everyday client. Then we can go to our money simulator and say they had $500. You would type 500, you would hit run. And it's gonna
something for every budget, Brian. I love that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so you could put in any price point if it makes sense to the simulator. If you put in $1 million, it's going to whack out. But if they have $1 million and they're needing credit help, then they need to call me personally. We need to have a talk. But it's going to take
Uh,
that money. It's going to take those monies and it's going to put it where they're going to get the most amount of points back the quickest. That way, they're not having to guess on the trade line report. Oh, I have this amount of money. Where I need to spend it? We can just hit two buttons, and it's going to disperse those funds, and they'll be able to see the same thing: the potential change, the potential score, but also based off of these recommendations, the best estimated data to pull their credit. So they'll get that information here as well. Extremely simple. And then we have our final product, which is our Smart Score Simulator. Here we could do a list of different things, whether it's fixing the inaccuracy of the credit report. We do have the ability to add accounts, different installment loans, whether it's a mortgage loan, an auto loan, just a standard installment loan. We do have the availability to change the credit type to whether, or the responsibility, whether it's individual or if it's authorized user. You can age out the accounts as well just to see how many points you can get back in the future, because usually when it comes to credit cards and authorized user, it's a 6-month process before it reports. So you can get that idea of how many points you're going to get back in that time frame. But then we can go and fix their inaccuracies. For instance, we can fix this Chase account. This Capital One was reported incorrectly because Capital One usually only will report up to what you spent. So this credit limit was actually 10,000, and this balance has been paid down. This Barclays was paid down. This is paid down, and this one was paid down. We can go scroll down, hit run. It's going to let me know how many points I'm going to get back by running those scenarios. You will see the accounts that you played with; they'll be highlighted in red. And to the right of that, you'll be able to see the current utilization changes that you submitted. So you'll be able to see the changes here. You'll still have the same thing. You'll get the price point, a potential score, and you'll still be able to see the best estimated data to pull their credit as well. In order to reset that, you would just hit reset values. And from there, you do have a clean slate again. You do have some other functionalities too as well. I know that this Credit One bank was in dispute from the trade line report. You can simulate removing the word dispute to see how many points they're going to lose. So you do have that availability as well. And really just changing the status, whether it's for this authorized user, you have the availability if it's recently laid or closed, or the actual terminate the authorized user. When it comes to these other accounts, whether it's recently laid or closed. As we get into these negative revolving, especially we can see with these late payments, if I wanted to change the status as paid as agreed or deleted, I can do that as well. When it comes to the collections, the battle of paying it off and having it deleted, we can see that change if I wanted to delete it and pay it off to see how many points I would get back. So there's certain different functionalities inside this Smart Score. Just really a know before you go tool, just making sure that we run the scenarios before we try to do something dramatic. And what could be a 30 or 60-day customer, we make one mistake and next thing you know, they're a 6-month customer. So just making sure that we're doing things the proper way before we actually commit to doing something that could have a really good effect or a really bad effect. And that's really it. It's extremely simple on this side for the mortgage guys and the real estate guys. And I know you got some questions brewed up, John. Let them ride.
I do have a couple more, yeah. Okay, Ryan, you make it look simple. I agree. But I don't know about the first time user on this. For the mortgage guys, let's stay there for a moment. And I know we will have a relationship. Do I run this for my client? Does the client run it for the client, or are you there to run it for us for the client?
So you guys would run it for the clients, and you guys would do that with your CRA. We do handle the support. So if there's questions about a file, or especially for your first time using it, we understand that it's a new car. You still have to press all the buttons. You got to show your friends, and then they're going to ask you questions. And then next thing you know, you're reading a manual. So
Yeah.
we're still technically the manual of this new car, just because we know it is a lot. There's a lot of information here. So we're still here on the back end for any support or any other questions that may come across, and we're still adding stuff too as well. So we're here as well to update you guys of like new features, or if there's an update on the algorithms, we're still doing that too as well on our side.
All right. So I, as the mortgage guy, am the interface with you and my client. And so I chat with you and run it. And if I have questions, I talk to you, but the client deals directly with us then. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, correct.
All right. And we haven't talked price, Ryan. I know everybody's kind of wondering, well, that's pretty cool. How much does it cost?
It only costs an arm and a leg and your firstborn, John.
That's pretty darn good.
I got some
Depends on
gutters.
which-
I need some firstborn sons to complete my gutters. But the pricing is done with the CRAs. We handle none of the billing when it comes to these products. When it comes to direct to consumer, we do have our price point. And the thing is with our direct consumer, it's usually $49.95 a month for this. But going through you guys, we've actually discounted it out 40%. So for our full product, and I'm only showing you half of it, it gets more in depth when it comes to direct to consumer. We've actually marked it down to $29.95 for you guys, just to give a better price point for the consumer, because that's just something that they can pay for.
Yeah. Heck, I got to tell you guys, I've worked with credit and mortgages for many years, and this could save you way more than $30 a month. It's huge.
Yeah, and it's very simple on that side because it is a very do-it-yourself program. And my dad beta tested that direct consumer class when I was 10 years old to my third grade class. He brought Scooby-Doo, and Scooby-Doo delivered pizzas to us, but he asked us questions. What would make things easier for you? What would make things stand out? And that's why on the trade line report, how you see items in red, it's because he took a survey. He was like, what would make this stand out? But it was when a teacher, when we got something wrong on a test, she would always mark it out with a red pen. So we were drawn to take our eyes to our mistakes. So now we highlight where most errors happen in red. But also on the direct consumer side, they said what would make it easier, and it was if it read it to us. If you could press a button, it would read it to us. So everything on the direct to consumer side, they can click a button and it reads it to them, explains it to them, tells them exactly what they need to do so they can understand it. So as long as they have a third grade education, they can understand everything that we have onto our direct to consumer side.
Well, thanks to your third grade class for implementing this.
It only cost my dad. It only cost my pops Scooby-Doo and pizza, and it was a great day because we had a couple hours. We didn't have to do schoolwork. We're just hanging out with Scooby-Doo, getting questioned by this old businessman, interrogating my class of what would make things easier for this product.
That's a pretty inexpensive focus group, I would say, Ryan. Good
And that's
job.
what he says. He says it was the cheapest research and development he's ever had through his time in the credit and financial industry.
I love it. Okay. So for our clients then, if they want to hop on this program, they're going to deal directly with us. They get the discount going through our company. Yay. Thanks for that, Ryan. And we would connect them up. And if there's questions on how to run and everything, we have you available by speed dial if we need. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. We're here on our team with support and with I'm just a phone call away. Just don't call me past 9 p.m. Eastern. but I'm still I work long hours with support, so I'm always here to help you guys. And if I'm not available, we're all across the United States with reps too as well, especially from the East Coast, the Central and West Coast, so we can hit every time frame appropriately and give back timely responses back to everybody.
That's awesome. Well, this is such a strategic tool, and we're all about strategy with our clients and loans because it can save them a lot of money or make them a lot of money. And this is a great tool, Brian. I'm glad you're able to join us today. I'm as impressed now as I was the first time I saw it. It's really quite the robust little tool you guys have developed.
I really do appreciate it, John. We spent a lot of time in this, and we're not done yet. We're still getting better. There's still some things that we're going to add for the future updates, and we're just going to continue just to get better and better and take every day as it is. And we're still learning. We're not experts in this. We just make it look good. Is what my dad says. We're credit stylists. So we're still learning, and we take any feedback and any functionalities, and we just put it into place for you guys.
Okay, we have a concept we call mortgage by design. It fits in with the credit stylist quite well.
Hey, I like it.
I like it too. So I suspect I'm going to have you back. First of all, this is new to us, guys. As you can tell, we're recently affiliated with Ryan and company. And so I haven't even dived into this, my first one, but I have a client. We're going to have to talk about it after this video, Ryan, that I want to use on it right now. And I suspect after using it once or twice or a little more that I'll probably have more questions, and we should probably get you on. Certainly if there's future updates coming that we want to talk about, and also to delve deeper into some of the stuff this thing does. Does that sound good?
Yes, sir. That'd be perfect. And I look forward to it.
All right. Ryan, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you have any questions, reach out to us through YouTube or the email that Brittany's going to have on the YouTube video, and we're happy to follow up. And if you want to check out your credit, we can get you connected with Ryan and company and help you out with that. We thank you. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, John, and thank you guys for being with us this afternoon.
All right. We'll chat with you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.